Hi, I'm Taylor, and thank you for watching my presentation over sugar and its effect on the obesity epidemic. I first want to go into a little bit of background of how we got here and why this topic is important. First, the Sugar Research Foundation was founded in 1943, and its first funded researcher was Dr. Ansel Keys to study the metabolism of sugar in man. In 1955, just 12 years later, Dwight D. Eisenhower suffered a heart attack which put him and heart disease in the limelight. In 1958, just 3 short years later, Ansel Keys and his research came out to say that it was fat that caused his heart attack. In 1972, more research comes out from Dr. Yudkin in London saying that sugar causes heart disease, which was backed up by the USDA the very next year in 1973. In 1976, the FDA gave sugar a clean bill of health, backed by a Harvard doctor named Frederick Stare. In 1984, the world finally goes low fat and starts to put sugar in their foods to help with the reduced flavor from removing all of or as much fat as possible from their products. In 2014, Canada finally put an end to their health check program and released their position statement on sugar, and that the government should limit sugar consumption. In 2015, the very next year, the World Health Organization finally caught on and also stated that we should limit our sugar consumption of free sugar to no more than 5% of our daily intake of calories. All of this leads us up to where we are now as a country with over 1/3 of our adult population labeled as obese. So my mission today is to show you how sugar has affected our population, pushing us to be more obese each and every year, and offer a few ways that I think that we can prevent sugar from causing us to be more obese each and every year. I'm going to start with a few research articles that have shown that our own mother's blood sugar levels while they are pregnant with us can alter or determine our number of fat cells when we are adults. It's crazy to think that we don't even have that much control over the number of fat cells our bodies produces, yet our own mothers do. So my first suggested step in fighting the obesity epidemic is watching what our to-be mothers are eating while pregnant and giving our kids a fighting chance from the very start. The next big finding in research had to do with adolescents and how their body reacts to sugar when they have it. The research points towards our brain reducing blood flow to our main center of decision making. So when we have sugar, we no longer make the same educated decisions that we would without it. That same article also found that sugar, when consumed, lights up our brain and dopamine centers or reward centers, telling our body that we liked that and we want more, which is a similar effect that cocaine has on the brain. When we can no longer determine what is good for us, but have our body telling us that we want more, that is a recipe for disaster, and I think that we are all starting to see it more and more. A few more stats from the American Heart Association on sugar is that women's daily allowance of sugar is 25 grams per day, and men's allowance is 36 grams per day. Those numbers are far lower than the average consumed per day by Americans according to the Center of Disease Control, that states that Americans are consuming around 82 grams per day, which is 3 times more than those allowed by the AHA. This large amount of sugar affects how our liver processes and filters our fats in our bloodstream. This large amount of sugar actually prevents our liver from breaking down non-essential fatty acids into carbon dioxide and instead turns them into TAGs or triacylglycerol. TAGs leave the liver and become very low density lipoproteins or VLDL, which are known as bad fats. We want to have higher density lipoproteins or HDL to decrease the risk of heart disease. So maybe Ansel Keys was onto something with his fat causes heart disease statement. I don't think that he knew that sugar actually increased the level of VLDLs in our bloodstream by preventing our liver from breaking down these non-essential fatty acids in our bloodstream that are released from our fat cells in response to lipoprotein lipase, or LPL. LPL breaks down fat that is stored in fat cells and releases it into the form of non-essential fatty acids. But if we eat sugar, LPL is releasing these NEFAs into the bloodstream where they're not being removed by the liver, leading to higher levels of VLDL in the bloodstream, increasing the risk of heart disease. So, after all that information, what I'm saying, summed up, is that sugar has massive effects on some of our body's major organs that can lead to some very serious health risks, including heart disease. One of the main culprits leading to our high levels of sugar consumption are sugary beverages like soda, energy drinks, and sports drinks. A 2009 study published in the New England Journal of Medicine stated that sugary drinks were the leading cause of the obesity epidemic. The middle picture on my presentation shows the amount of sugar in each of the popular sugary beverages. It also shows the average consumption of sugar through sweetened beverages by youth per year. Boys that were aged 12 through 19 were consuming an average of 108 gallons per year. That's enough to fill a full-size truck or SUV's fuel tank over 4 times. Another alarming statistic provided on that image is that boys aged 2 to 5 averaged over 47 gallons of sugary beverage in a year. One average 4-year-old in the U.S. weighs around 40 pounds. 1 gallon weighs a little over 8 pounds. So a 2 to 5-year-old boy consuming an average of 9.5 times their body weight in sugary beverages each year, or at least until they start gaining more weight. If a child was between 2 and 5 was consuming this amount of, let's say, Gatorade per year, that child will be consuming around 16,200 excess calories in just sugar for each gallon that they drank. So I'll do the math for you and tell you that it comes out to over 760,000 calories in just sugar that they've consumed over a year. This number is absolutely astronomical when you think about a 2,000 calorie diet that's suggested over a year would be 730,000 calories for the whole year. That number is 30,000 less than what they consumed in just Gatorade. With all of this in mind, I have a few more suggestions or solutions to our obesity epidemic. The first thing is that we need to start eating properly portioned and timed meals and limiting our sugar to either below 5% of our daily intake or less than the recommended amount given to us by the American Heart Association. Second, we need to start getting the proper nutrition when we do eat sugar. We need to also be eating adequate amounts of healthy fats, and protein, and other carbs whenever we have sugar. The balance of these macronutrients can combat the absorption of the sugar and slow down its side effects. It is also just healthier to eat a balanced meal in the first place. A balanced diet will help push excess calories and nutrients through the digestive system and not into the bloodstream. My final thought is that we need to be using the tool of exercise to help combat the excess fats and calories in our bloodstream if we're going to be consuming this amount of sugar. There have been many studies done that show that exercise can decrease your amount of LDLs or bad fats and increase your amount of HDLs or good fats and also help you burn excess calories and decreasing your risk of heart disease. My final thoughts on the whole presentation are this. Due to the large amount of excess calories, brain-altering and liver-changing effects of sugar, the addictiveness that it produces, and the bad stigma of fat in our foods, I believe the obesity epidemic is here to stay. We have a duty to protect our future and our children. We must take back the reins from sugar and realize that it can and is doing to our country and our bodies. I hope you take away at least one piece of information from this presentation. I hope it's this, that we can change the future for our kids, but it starts with us being conscious of what we put into our bodies while they are in our bodies. I want to thank the CDC, the AHA, and Sugar Coated, a documentary, and thank you for watching my presentation.